Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
I'm Jack Dempsey, and I've spent 15 years building houses in this god-forsaken New England town. What I couldn't build was a marriage that wouldn't crumble like wet drywall. My wife Vanessa thought she was smarter than me. Typical HR manager mentality. Always organizing everyone else's life, while hers fell apart behind designer curtains. It was 3 in the morning when she stumbled through our front door, reeking of cheap perfume and expensive whiskey. I was in my workshop, pretending to sand cabinet doors, while actually nursing a beer and wondering when my life had become a country song without the truck. "Working late again?" she asked, not bothering to hide the smirk. "Someone has to pay for your lifestyle," I replied, not looking up from the wood grain I'd been staring at for an hour. Vanessa laughed, that bitter sound she'd perfected over the past year. "Maybe if you showed half the passion for me that you do for those stupid cabinets. Maybe if you came home before midnight once in a while." She tossed her purse on my workbench, knocking over my coffee can of screws. I was with Stacy, girls' night. Stacy. Her office bestie who'd never liked me from day one. The kind of woman who thought blue collar meant blue-brained. I watched Vanessa's phone light up as it slid out of her purse. The message preview made my blood freeze. "Last night was unforgettable. Can't wait for Paris. C." Paris? We'd never been to Paris. Hell, we'd never been anywhere that didn't have a Hampton Inn and a Cracker Barrel. "Who's C?" I asked, my voice steady as a level. Vanessa snatched the phone, but not before I saw her face go white. "Client, Colin Bryce from the Morrison Project." Colin Bryce. The pretty boy project manager who drove a red Audi and wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage. I'd met him at the company Christmas party, where he'd looked at me like I was something stuck to his Italian leather shoe. "Clients text you at 3 a.m. about Paris? It's work, Jack. You wouldn't understand." That stung, but not as much as what I found the next morning. Vanessa left early, important meeting, and forgot her iPad on the kitchen counter. I'm not proud of snooping, but I'm not stupid either. Her email was still logged in, and what I found made me wish I'd stayed stupid. Months of messages, hotel reservations, photos I won't describe but will never forget, and the kicker, plane tickets to Paris, charged to our joint credit card, the same card connected to our daughter Emma's college fund. I sat in my kitchen staring at evidence of my wife's betrayal and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage. Rage burns hot and stupid. This was different. This was ice-cold calculation. My phone buzzed. Emma texting from school. "Dad, why is Mom's car in the shop again?" Kids at school are saying stuff. Kids at school. In a town of 8,000, everyone knows everyone's business, which meant everyone knew mine. I texted back, "Just maintenance, sweetheart. See you tonight." But as I closed the iPad and headed to my truck, I knew tonight would be different. Tonight I'd start building something new, a plan that would make Vanessa and her lover wish they'd picked someone else's life to destroy. Mrs. Rourke, my 70-year-old neighbor, was watering her petunias when I backed out of the driveway. She waved me over with the enthusiasm of someone who lived for gossip. "Jack, dear, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I saw Vanessa with that young man in the red car yesterday. Looked mighty cozy for a business meeting." "Did they now?" "Oh, yes. Right there in the Whole Foods parking lot. Kissing like teenagers. I took a picture, for my grandson. He loves fancy cars." She showed me her phone. Clear as day, Vanessa and Colin, his hands places they shouldn't be, her wedding ring catching the sunlight. "Mrs. Rourke, could you send me that photo? For insurance purposes." She winked. "Already did, dear. Check your email." As I drove toward the job site, my phone kept buzzing with messages from Derek, my crew chief and the closest thing I had to a best friend. Derek had done 2 tours in Afghanistan and came back with a philosophy that problems were just puzzles waiting for the right solution. "Boss, you okay? You look like someone pissed in your coffee." "Worse. Someone pissed in my marriage." I showed him the photo. Derek whistled low. "That's Colin Bryce. Arrogant prick. Remember him from the Hendricks job? Kept telling us we were doing everything wrong. That's him." "What's the play, boss?" Derek always asked about the play. Military thinking, assess, plan, execute. I like that about him. Still figuring it out. But when I do, it's going to be surgical. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to my own job and drove to Vanessa's office building, parked across the street with a clear view of the parking garage. At 5:30, like clockwork, she walked out with Colin. He had his hand on her lower back, guiding her toward his Audi like he owned her. They drove to the Marriott downtown. I followed at a distance, feeling like a character in one of those detective novels Emma liked to read. They went inside together and I sat in my truck for 2 hours, watching the windows of room 412 light up, then dim. When they came out, Vanessa's hair was different, messier. Colin was straightening his tie. They kissed goodbye in the parking lot. Long, passionate, the kind of kiss she hadn't given me in years. I followed Colin to his condo complex, one of those sterile, expensive places with names like the Residences at Wherever. Made a note of his address, his license plate, the fact that he parked in spot 23B every time. Then I went home and waited. Vanessa arrived at 8:47, claiming she'd been working late on the Morrison project. I nodded and smiled, played the oblivious husband while my daughter did homework at the kitchen table. "How was your day, honey?" Vanessa asked Emma, playing the devoted mother. "Weird. Kids were asking about you and some guy with a red car. Madison's mom saw you guys at lunch." Vanessa's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Madison's mom needs to mind her own business. "Are you and Dad getting divorced?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Emma was 15, old enough to read the signs, smart enough to ask the hard questions. "Of course not, sweetheart," Vanessa said, reaching across to squeeze Emma's hand. "Your father and I are fine." But Emma was looking at me, not her mother. And in her eyes, I saw the real stakes of this game. It wasn't just about my pride or Vanessa's betrayal. It was about my daughter watching her world fall apart while her mother lied to her face. That night, after Emma went to bed, I sat in my workshop with Vanessa's laptop. She'd left it open on the kitchen counter again. Found her burner phone hidden in her purse. Found videos on Colin's cloud account that made my stomach turn. But I also found something else. Bank statements, credit card bills, hotel charges, restaurant bills, shopping sprees, all on our joint accounts. Vanessa wasn't just cheating on me. She was spending our daughter's future on her affair. I opened a new document on my computer and started typing. Not a journal, a case file. Dates, times, locations, financial records, everything organized, documented, ready for what came next. Because Jack Dempsey might be just a blue-collar contractor, but I'd learned a thing or two about building a solid foundation. And the foundation for my revenge was going to be unshakable. The next morning, I woke up with the clarity of a man who'd finally stopped lying to himself. Vanessa was already gone, another early meeting, and Emma was rushing through breakfast before her friend picked her up for school. "Dad, you look different," she said, studying my face over her cereal bowl. "Different how?" "I don't know, less tired?" Smart kid. I felt less tired. Felt like I had purpose again. After Emma left, I called Derek. "You busy today?" "For you, never. What do you need?" "Research, and maybe some creative problem solving." Derek arrived within an hour, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing his "let's fuck some shit up" grin. I showed him everything, the photos, the emails, the financial records. "Jesus, boss. She's been busy." "Gets worse. Look at this." I pulled up the bank statements. In 6 months, Vanessa had spent $23,000 on her affair. Hotels, dinners, shopping trips, and those Paris tickets. Money that should have been going toward Emma's college fund. What's the play? Derek asked. Phase 1. Information gathering. I need to know everything about Colin Bryce. Where he lives, where he works, what he drives, who he knows. Everything. And Vanessa? She's already given me everything I need. She just doesn't know it yet. Derek cracked his knuckles. I love it when you get calculating. Reminds me of planning night raids. We spent the morning building a profile on Colin. Social media told us he was 34, divorced, drove a leased Audi, and lived in a condo his daddy helped him buy. Derek's military contacts ran his credit. Guy was leveraged to his eyeballs, living paycheck to paycheck despite his fancy job. Interesting, Derek said, scrolling through the report. Mr. Perfect's got some secrets, such as 3 maxed out credit cards, behind on his car payments. And look at this. He's been skimming from company expense accounts. Small amounts, but consistent. I smiled. Keep digging. While Derek worked his magic, I drove to Emma's school. Not to cause drama, I'm not that kind of father. But I needed to understand how much damage Vanessa's affair had already done to our daughter's life. The principal, Mrs. Henderson, had known Emma since kindergarten. She agreed to meet with me during her lunch break. Mr. Dempsey, I'm glad you came in. Emma's been distracted lately. Her grades are slipping and she seems anxious. Kids talking? Mrs. Henderson sighed. You know how teenagers are. Social media makes everything worse. There have been some photos circulating. She showed me her phone. Screenshots from Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. My wife and Colin at restaurants, shopping, holding hands. Posted by kids whose parents had seen them around town. Emma's handling it better than most kids would, Mrs. Henderson said. But she's hurting, Jack. She needs stability right now. She'll have it, I promise. That afternoon, I implemented phase 2. I went to the bank, our bank, where I'd done business for 15 years, and had a conversation with the manager about protecting our accounts from fraud. Perfectly legal, perfectly reasonable request from a concerned husband. I'd like to set up alerts for any transactions over $500, I told him. And I want to require dual authorization for any withdrawals from our savings accounts. Of course, Mr. Dempsey. Identity theft is a real concern these days. I also opened a new account, just in my name, and transferred Emma's college fund to safety. Again, perfectly legal. My name was on everything. Next stop, Vanessa's office building. I knew she'd be in meetings until 5, which gave me time to have a conversation with building security. Turned out the head of security, Mike Torres, had hired me to renovate his kitchen 2 years ago. Jack, good to see you, man. How's the family? That's actually why I'm here, Mike. I think someone might be stalking my wife. Can you keep an eye out? Maybe check if anyone's been following her to her car? Mike's expression turned serious. Absolutely. You want me to review the parking garage footage? If you wouldn't mind. Just the past few weeks. An hour later, Mike handed me a USB drive. Found something interesting? Your wife's been meeting the same guy almost every day. Same time, same spot. Want me to call the police? Not yet. Let me handle it first. But Mike, if anything happens to my family, I'll need this footage. You got it, brother. By 6 p.m., I was home, cooking dinner and pretending to be the same oblivious husband I'd been yesterday. Vanessa walked in at 6:30, kissing my cheek like nothing had changed. Smells good, she said. What's the occasion? No occasion, just wanted to cook for my family. We ate dinner together, Vanessa, Emma, and me, like a normal family. Vanessa told stories about her day, carefully editing out the parts where she was screwing Colin in hotel rooms. Emma talked about school, avoiding mention of the gossip about her mother. I listened and smiled and played my part. After Emma went upstairs to do homework, Vanessa poured herself a glass of wine and settled onto the couch. Jack, we need to talk. My heart stopped. Had she figured out what I was doing? About what? About us? About our marriage? She looked nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring. For a moment, I thought she might confess everything. Apologize. Give me a reason to forgive her. I've been thinking about taking a break, she said. Maybe some time apart would help us figure things out. A break? Just temporary. I could stay with Stacy for a while. Give us both some space to think. Space to think. Or space to screw Colin without sneaking around. What about Emma? She'll understand. Kids are resilient. There it was. The same phrase from her text messages, the same casual dismissal of our daughter's feelings. Kids are resilient. Kids heal fast. Kids don't matter as much as Vanessa's happiness. I don't think that's a good idea, I said carefully. Why not? Because Emma needs stability right now. Her grades are slipping. She's stressed about the rumors at school. This isn't the time to disrupt her life. Vanessa's face hardened. What rumors? About you and Colin Bryce. The wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. Red wine spread like blood across the boards I'd installed myself 3 years ago. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Red Audi, fancy suits, room 412 at the Marriott. Ring any bells? Vanessa stood up, her face flushed with anger and panic. You've been following me? I've been protecting my family. There's a difference. You have no right. I have every right. You're my wife. Emma's my daughter. This is my house, built with my hands and paid for with my work. And you've been using
He texted at 2 a.m. Leave the door unlocked. You left our door unlocked for him?
Once it was
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
all of it to fund your midlife crisis. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Vanessa stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew, how much damage I could do. What do you want? She asked finally. I want you to end it, tonight. I want you to come clean to Emma, and I want you to start acting like a wife and mother instead of a teenager with a credit card. And if I don't? I smiled, and something in my expression made her take a step back. Then you'll find out what happens when you try to destroy a man who builds things for a living. Spoiler alert, I'm very good at demolition too. That night, Vanessa slept in the guest room. I lay in our bed staring at the ceiling, listening to her make phone calls through the thin walls. Couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. Panic, desperation, anger. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Found something big. Colin's been embezzling. Have proof. What's the play? I typed back, tomorrow we start building. Time to show these people what happens when you mess with a contractor's family. As I drifted off to sleep, I could hear Vanessa crying in the next room. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 15 years, wanted to comfort her. But that part was getting smaller every day. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The next morning brought the first real test of my resolve. Vanessa came downstairs dressed for battle. Her best suit, perfect makeup, the armor of a woman who'd decided to fight instead of surrender. Emma was already at the breakfast table, scrolling through her phone with the practiced indifference of a teenager trying to ignore her parents' drama. Morning, sweetheart, Vanessa said, kissing the top of Emma's head. Sleep well? Fine. Emma didn't look up from her phone. Jack and I had a good talk last night. We're going to work through some things. Now Emma looked up, her eyes sharp with intelligence. That reminded me why I was fighting this war. Work through what things? Adult things. Nothing for you to worry about. Mom, I'm 15, not 5. I know you're cheating on Dad. The words hit the kitchen like a grenade. Vanessa went pale. I felt my chest tighten, and Emma just kept eating her cereal like she'd commented on the weather. Emma, Vanessa started. Madison's older sister works at the Marriott. She's seen you there with that guy from your office. The whole school knows. Vanessa looked at me like this was somehow my fault. Jack, say something. What would you like me to say? That she's wrong? Yes. But she's not wrong, is she? Emma stood up, shouldering her backpack. My ride's here. Try not to burn the house down while I'm at school. After she left, Vanessa and I sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. You turned her against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself. She'll get over it. Kids heal fast. There it was again. That phrase that made my blood boil. I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Vanessa's voice from last night's phone call, captured through the thin walls. Tell Colin we need to move up the timeline. Jack knows, but he's too weak to do anything about it. We'll be in Paris by next week, and by the time we get back, I'll have the house and half his business. Vanessa's face went white. You recorded me? I recorded you planning to destroy our family. There's a difference. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. Single-party consent state, remember? I can record any conversation I'm part of, and since it happened in my house, I was technically part of it. Derek chose that moment to knock on the door. Perfect timing, as always. Morning, Vanessa, he said, tipping his baseball cap. Jack, you ready? Ready for what? Vanessa asked. Field trip, I said, standing up. Derek found something interesting about your boyfriend. Thought you might want to see it. We drove to Colin's office building in Derek's truck. A massive F-35. Oh, that made the Audi look like a toy. Vanessa sat between us, radiating fury and fear in equal measure. This is kidnapping, she said. This is a family meeting, Derek replied. Relax. Colin's office was on the third floor of a glass and steel monument to corporate mediocrity. We found him at his desk, typing on his laptop and sipping what looked like a $20 coffee drink. Vanessa? He stood up, confused. What are you doing here? Who are these guys? I'm Jack Dempsey, I said, extending my hand. Vanessa's husband. We met at the Christmas party. Colin's face went through several interesting color changes as he reluctantly shook my hand. And I'm Derek, my friend said, not offering to shake hands. I'm here for moral support. What do you want? Colin asked. To show you something, I said, pulling out Derek's laptop. Derek here is good with computers. Used to do intelligence work for the Army. He's been looking into your finances. The laptop screen showed bank records, expense reports, credit card statements, all legally obtained through public records and Colin's own careless social media posts. You've been skimming from company accounts, Derek said conversationally. Small amounts spread over time. Very clever. Except you used that money to fund your affair with this man's wife. Colin sat down hard. You can't prove that. Actually, we can. Hotel charges on your company card, same dates as Vanessa's business trips. Restaurant bills for two when you were supposedly eating alone. And my personal favorite, first-class tickets to Paris, charged to your company's travel account. Vanessa was staring at Colin like she'd never seen him before. You used company money? It was just temporary, Colin said. I was going to pay it back. With what? Derek asked. You're broke, buddy. Behind on your car payments, maxed out credit cards, living paycheck to paycheck. You needed Vanessa's husband's money to fund this whole fantasy. I leaned against Colin's desk, enjoying the way he flinched. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to end this affair. Today. You're going to delete every photo, every video, every text message. And you're going to stay away from my wife and my family. And if I don't? Derek smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then we take this evidence to your boss, your ex-wife's divorce lawyer, and the district attorney's office. Embezzlement's a felony in this state. You're blackmailing me. We're giving you a choice, I corrected. Make the smart one. Colin looked at Vanessa, desperate. Tell them. Tell them about us. About our plans. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment, studying Colin's face. When she spoke, her voice was cold as winter. I don't know what you're talking about. Vanessa, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Mr. Bryce, I'm a married woman. If you've been misinterpreting our professional relationship, that's your problem, not mine. I almost felt sorry for Colin. Almost. He was learning the same lesson I'd learned. Vanessa would sacrifice anyone to save herself. You bitch, he said. You said you loved me. I said a lot of things. Doesn't make them true. Derek closed the laptop. Sounds like we're done here. As we walked toward the elevator, Colin called after us, This isn't over. Derek turned around, and his expression made Colin take a step back. Yeah, it is. And if you come near this family again, we'll have a different kind of conversation. The kind that happens in parking lots instead of offices. On the drive home, Vanessa was unusually quiet. Finally, she spoke. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. I just documented it. What happens now? Now you come home. You be a wife and a mother. You go to counseling. You earn back the trust you threw away. And if I don't want to? I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. The woman I'd married was still there, buried under layers of selfishness and entitlement, but still there. Then you leave. Tonight. But you leave with nothing except the clothes on your back. No house, no car, no money. And Emma stays with me. You can't do that. Actually, I can. I've already moved Emma's college fund to a separate account. The house is in my name. I built it before we got married, remember? And thanks to your little spending spree, I can prove financial irresponsibility in divorce court. Vanessa stared out the window as we pulled into our driveway. You've thought of everything. I'm good at planning. It's what I do for a living. That evening, Emma came home from school to find her parents sitting at the kitchen table like civilized adults. No raised voices, no broken glass, no drama. How was school? Vanessa asked. Weird. Colin Bryce got fired today. Madison's mom works in his building. Security walked him out with a box of his stuff. Vanessa and I exchanged glances. Why? I asked. Something about stealing money. Madison's mom said he was crying. After dinner, after Emma went upstairs to do homework, Vanessa and I sat in the living room and had the conversation we should have had months ago. I'm sorry, she said. For which part? All of it. The affair, the lying, the money. I felt trapped. Like my life was over at 32. So you decided to blow it up instead. I thought I could have both. My family and my freedom. Doesn't work that way, Ness. Never has. She was crying now, and part of me wanted to comfort her. The part that remembered our first apartment, our wedding day, the night Emma was born. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Could I forgive the affair? Maybe. The lies. Possibly. But using Emma's college fund to finance her betrayal? That was different. I don't know, I said honestly, but I'm willing to try, on one condition. What? You go to counseling. Real counseling, not just marriage counseling. You figure out why you did this and you fix it. Because if it happens again, there won't be a third chance. Vanessa nodded, wiping her eyes. What about Colin? What about him? He's going to be angry, desperate. Men like that don't just disappear. She was right. Colin Bryce had lost his job, his lover, and his dignity all in one day. In my experience, desperate men made dangerous choices. Let me worry about Colin, I said. But as we sat there in the living room I'd built with my own hands, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Colin Bryce didn't strike me as the type to go quietly into the night. And I was right. 3 days later, Colin proved that desperate men really do make dangerous choices. I was working late in my shop, trying to catch up on the Henderson kitchen project, when Derek burst through the door without knocking. We got problems, boss. What kind of problems? The kind that drive drunk to your house at midnight and try to kick down your front door. I set down my router and followed Derek outside. Sure enough, Colin's red Audi was parked sideways across my driveway. Driver's door hanging open, engine still running. Where is he now? Vanessa's got him cornered on the front porch. She's holding a baseball bat. I could hear voices from the front of the house, Colin's slurred shouting and Vanessa's sharp responses. As we rounded the corner, I saw the scene Derek had described. Colin was swaying on my front steps, clearly drunk, while Vanessa stood in the doorway with Emma's aluminum bat. Told you it was over, Vanessa was saying. Go home, Colin. You ruined my life here, he shouted back. I lost everything because of you. You lost everything because you're a thief and an idiot. That's when Colin saw me approaching. His face twisted with rage and alcohol-fueled courage. There he is, the great Jack Dempsey. You think you won, you blue-collar piece of shit? I think you're drunk and trespassing, I replied calmly. And I think you should leave before this gets worse. Worse? You destroyed my career, my reputation, my life. You did that yourself when you decided to embezzle money to fund an affair with my wife. Colin took a stumbling step toward me. She came to me, you know, said you were boring, said you couldn't satisfy her. Derek moved to my left, positioning himself between Colin and the house. Military instincts never die. Colin, I said, keeping my voice level, you have about 10 seconds to get back in your car and drive away. After that, things are going to get unpleasant. You threatening me? I'm giving you a choice, same as I did in your office. Fuck your choices! Colin lunged at me, swinging wild haymakers that showed he'd never been in a real fight. I sidestepped easily, letting his momentum carry him past me into Derek's waiting arms. Easy there, champ, Derek said, restraining Colin without much effort. Let's not do anything stupid. Let me go! I'll kill him! I'll kill all of you! That's when I heard the front door slam and saw Vanessa walking toward us with her phone pressed to her ear. Yes, officer, I need police at 47 Maple Street. There's a drunk man threatening my family. Colin went limp in Derek's arms. You called the cops? I called the cops, Vanessa confirmed. You're drunk, you're trespassing, and you just threatened to kill my husband. That's assault, battery, and terroristic threatening. The fight went out of Colin all at once. He sagged against Derek, suddenly looking less like a dangerous threat and more like a pathetic middle-aged man who'd made terrible choices. I loved you, he said to Vanessa. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of me, the fantasy. But you never knew the real me. And what's the real you? Vanessa looked at Colin for a long moment, then at me, then at the house, where our daughter was probably watching from her bedroom window. The real me is a wife and mother who made a terrible mistake. But I'm also a woman who won't let some drunk loser threaten her family. The police arrived 5 minutes later. 2 officers I recognized from various town functions. They took statements, administered a breathalyzer test that Colin failed spectacularly, and arrested him for trespassing and public intoxication. As they loaded him into the patrol car, Colin looked at me through the window. His expression wasn't angry anymore, it was defeated. This isn't over, he mouthed. But it was over. We all knew it. After the police left, the 3 of us, Derek, Vanessa, and I, sat on the front porch and shared a beer. It felt like